Let's begin with something we all love to see. Spider-Man lifting stuff, be it the Daily Bugle, debris, a train, or even scenes that involve him lifting cars. Spider-Man lifting stuff has always been a deeply ingrained part of the visual representation over the years. This story only has a small beat and could be done in a few minutes. Spider-Man is buried alive and struggling to get out. This is a classic situation where the hero's odds are completely against him. With Batman, it is oftentimes enough to take away his belt and suit. With Spider-Man, the idea of having a metaphorical and physical weight on your shoulders has become classic iconography. This issue serves as an epilogue. After a fight with Doc Ock, Spidey must lift a ton of debris and then face off against some thugs. It's a perfect story, with Spider-Man being able to address the fact that it wasn't Doc Ock that nearly took him out, but the low-life thugs he sent after him. For this one, we would have to do some rewriting because the X-Men at the time of this recording are still owned by Fox. And coming to think of it, this scene would probably also work in the upcoming PlayStation 4 video game. After all, if the Juggernaut is so tough, there really is no good reason why Tony Stark or S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't stop him. And the Juggernaut already behaves like a tank in Grand Theft Auto. This is essentially Spidey fighting an opponent that loses because he underestimates the cleverness of Peter. And for good reason. Juggernaut rampages through New York and his pride and hubris and Hulk-like strength force Peter to think outside the box. When it comes to stopping someone, you can't always just stop them with a punching contest. I can already tell that this is going to be a controversial one.
How can you look at those pictures and say that?
But I always adored the idea of Kitty Pryde from Ultimate Spider-Man. I know that the trinity of women fans tolerate for Spidey are either Mary Jane, Black Cat or Gwen Stacy.
Her name is Mary Jane.
But seriously think about the potential that Kitty Pryde unlocks for the MCU. Once you remove the fact that she's an X-Man, all she really needs to be is a metahuman with powers that protect her from being harmed. And for once that meant we could see what it would look like if Spider-Man didn't have to worry, and we'd also get our first legitimate superhero couple. It's a risky move, but if it turns out that Zendaya can phase through walls, I will call myself the prediction king of 2017. Vincent D'Onofrio has only appeared in Marvel's Netflix Daredevil show as Kingpin. But if he ever crosses paths with Tom Holland, this is the story I would love to see. It may be a bit too grim and dark, but think of what happened. The Kingpin nearly kills Aunt May after Peter unmasked himself during the events of Civil War. He then dons his classic black costume again, and takes the Kingpin on in a one-to-one match where he proceeds to nearly kill the Kingpin. Not as Spider-Man, but as Peter Parker. Seeing Spider-Man threaten the Kingpin by nearly shooting webbing into his nose and throat is a highlight I'm almost afraid to see. If anything, it almost makes me wish that many years ago Jake Gyllenhaal had gotten to play Spider-Man. This is by far one of the most important, if not the most important Spider-Man issue to date. Let's dial the clock back to the 60s. Readers might be jumping in and not fully know the backstory. This issue not only recaps Spider-Man's backstory, but frames it in a context that is so brilliantly human that any actor, let alone in a comic book film, would come home collecting gold for this performance. Peter receives a letter at the Bugle. It's fan mail from Spider-Man's biggest fan. So that night Spidey pays him a visit. They spend time and it's literally Peter telling the audience his entire backstory. It's an interview with your biggest fan. But then Uncle Ben is brought up, and this is how Marvel can show his death on film for a third time and actually do something new and interesting with it by using the conversation with the child as a framing device. Peter is told that even though he made a mistake, he shouldn't feel bad because he truly is the hero he always needed to be now. And even though that doesn't fix everything, you can see that this child actually gives him some hope and confidence. I'm getting into major spoilers here. If you really want to know why this is number one, keep watching. But I advise you to give it a read, because what follows is so incredibly human and realistic, you should enjoy it for yourself, and then get back and watch the rest. Spoiler warning out, let's continue. Before leaving the child, Peter actually unmasks completely, and they share a laugh at Jameson's obliviousness. It all appears to be so sentimental you'd think we're in a made-up world, and then you understand the reason Peter got the letter and fiction becomes reality. In the wrong hands, this would be cheesy and overly sentimental, but there is no chance in hell that anyone at Marvel would let that happen. And before you say this is way too depressing and sad for a Spider-Man story, think about Guardians of the Galaxy for a second. What is one of Marvel's funniest films also begins with an almost hauntingly realistic scene of a child losing his mother to cancer. And then he gets abducted by aliens and plays his classic hits from the 80s mixtape, but you get my point. This could honestly, if done right, be the first time since The Dark Knight that any actor receives an Academy Award for a comic book film.
You can collect your money on your way out.
They even adapted this issue loosely for the 90s animated series, swapping the gender and ethnicity and adding a subplot involving Dr. Octopus, but the basic idea stays the same. Let me know in the comments down below what some of your favorite Spider-Man stories are, and to close out on a fun note,
Yeah, right.
here's the best boss fight in video game history.
You will bear witness to the majesty and glory of my power. Prepare to die. You face your doom.
Whoa, that was sick, dude. You rock so hard, Spidey.
Oh, I give up. Don't hit me again.
Quentin Beck, I presume. Say cheese!